Welcome in to another episode of Building the Pride. I am your host, Drew, once again, all by myself because my co host is in Washington this week. Sorry for the late start. We got a error message when we were going live, and we had to wait for it to correct itself. Today, just so that everybody knows, I will be consuming an IBC root beer. How am I going to do this here? Which is one of my favorite root beers. So if anybody on the stream wants to pipe up with a really good root beer for me to try, I would appreciate it. All right, let's jump into it. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we are on the verge of minicamp. Detroit Lions minicamp. Should be coming up here momentarily. I know that there are other teams that are already reporting. The Lions report, I think it says the 27th. So that is 11 days from now. It doesn't seem right. It says training camp July 27th. Okay. So I'm not going to subscribe, dude. Get out of here. So mini camp's coming up a little under 2 weeks from now, week and a half from now. We'll get some more information about who's healthy, who's in shape. I've heard that Antoine Green is taking all of the, well, not all, but like the majority of first team reps at the X wide receiver position. So he is, at this point, I would say, the front runner over Donovan Peoples-Jones to play opposite Jameson Williams. So that's kind of a surprise, but good for him. If he's able to contribute at all as like a 7th round pick 2 years ago, that is really something. So good luck, Antoine. They must have some faith in you. But I think that'll segue nicely to the next topic that I want to talk about, which is something that we have talked about once or twice already, and that is Brandon Ayuk. So today, according to Adam Schefter, Brandon Ayuk has formally requested a trade from the 49ers. And it says here, Ayuk's request comes a week before veterans are slated to report to Niners training camp and about 3 weeks after Ayuk and the Niners met in Santa Clara to discuss the situation. NFL Network first reported the trade request. So that is not the only player. Oops, we had somebody and lost him. That is not the only player that the Lions have been linked to recently. And this next one, I think, is more of a surprise, than I'm used to, because it's Matthew Judon, the outside pass rusher, the edge rusher for the Patriots. And I saw this on a Facebook Lions fan group, and I knew that the poster was a bot that just spreads false information. So I didn't put much credence into it, but I have seen it twice now from other sources, and I wonder if the other sources are just repeating the same thing from that bot, or if this has any kind of legs to it. So I find it hard to believe that the Lions would trade at this point in the season or the upcoming season for a player like Matthew Judon. Let's look him up real quickly. Overthecap.com. Teams. Where are you? Where are you, New England Patriots? There you are. Matthew Judon is currently the highest paid player on the Patriots, making $14.6 million. So a post June 1 trade would mean that the New England Patriots would take almost an $8 million cap hit, but save almost $7 million on their books. So Matthew Judon is 32. He is under contract. This is the last year of his deal. So I have a really hard time believing that the Detroit Lions would be interested in a 32-year-old pass rusher in a contract year that you would have to trade for. That just does not make sense unless they're just absolutely in love with him, and like there's been discussions where they feel like they can get him. So I'm not thrilled about that. However, I would be excited about not Matthew Judon, but Brandon Ayuk. So San Francisco, Brandon Ayuk is also making $14 million this year. A post June 1 trade would see, where'd you go? The Niners would take no cap hit whatsoever if they trade him. So all of his money is guaranteed this season. So they would be getting rid of all of that guaranteed money. So it would save them $14 million, which would put them at like $45 million under the cap, which is weird to me. So, and then Brandon Ayuk is going to want a deal near the top of his position group. So if I go to wide receivers and we just do all the Justin Jefferson's deal is so much bigger than everybody else's. So there's 3 wide receivers right now in the NFL who are making $30 million. Hey, Hatters, what's up, man? If you got any questions, throw them in the chat. All right. Also, I'm drinking an IBC root beer. It's not real alcohol, so FYI. There's 4 wide receivers currently in the NFL that make $30 million a year, and that's Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, all who got new deals this last offseason, and Tyreek Hill. So I have a hard time believing that if anybody who's willing to trade for Brandon Ayuk is not going to pay him $30 million a year. So if you let's say you gave him Amon-Ra St. Brown's the exact deal that you gave Amon-Ra St. Brown. So his contract kicks in next season. He would make Amon-Ra St. Brown next season makes $13.9 million. He makes 4.8 this upcoming season. Next season he'll make 13.9, then 33, then 28, then 26, and there's 3 void years tacked onto it. So I mean, the Lions right now, cap space, Lions are $34 million underneath the cap and are projected to be $44 million underneath the cap next season. So like they only free up $10 million next season when they lose however, 12 or 15 players. So I mean, like, we're starting to see the margins of the cap on Detroit start to shrink a little bit. So you could fit somebody like that in, but I think that you would have to get really creative with all the guys that they want to extend. They still have to have enough money in order to be under the cap at the start of the new league year and sign their rookie class, plus field a full 53-man roster. So I think that Brandon Ayuk would be an absolutely wonderful fit on the Detroit Lions. And if you really wanted to, I would want to pair Brandon Ayuk's contract to that of Jared Goff, because Brandon Ayuk will be turning 30 by the time that Jared Goff's extension is up. And then he would be able to enter the market one more time effectively with possibly getting a big payday. So I think that the fact that he requested a trade is what you do so that the team that you're currently on gives you more money, gives you what you want. of course, every once in a while, these things apparently go from, yeah, I know we were just talking to, well, they're not actually going to give me my money. So now I really do want to be traded. And I think that it would be worth exploring if you're the Lions, but like, I do think if the Lions are in a position where it's like, well, we can sign Brandon Ayuk or extend Taylor Decker, Mike, if you're listening. Who else? Carlton Davis, they have to extend. Zeitler, if he wants to keep playing, would have to be extended. Who else? There's a bunch. Davenport's on a 1-year deal. McNeil's contract is up. And we're going into Hutch's 3rd season. So at the start of the new league year, he'll be eligible for an extension too, I believe. So, well, I can just go and look at it, Drew. I mean, why do I have to guess when literally it's all right in front of me? Anzalone's got another 2 year. Anzalone's 2 years. Montgomery's 2 years. DJ Reader's at 2 years. Jamison Williams has got this year and next. Kaminsky is up. McNeil is up. Barnes is up. Is Amik Robinson signed for 2 years? Yes, Amik Robertson is on the team this year and next year. Onwuzurike, probably not on the team next year. Emmanuel Mosley, probably not on the team next year. They match for Brock Wright. What about Kirby? No, Kirby's on the team through 2025. So there are people that they could sign to long-term deals, but you'd probably have to give up. I imagine it's something in the ballpark of the Lions are going to pick near the end of the first round, probably right where San Francisco is going to pick. And I mean, a pick in the late 20s is not the same thing as like the Eagles trading the 18th pick for AJ Brown. It's not. It's not a good asset. It's not as good of an asset. So I'm thinking something like a first and a third, 2 firsts, a first and JMO, something like that. And I don't think that they want to do that. I think that they would rather re-sign a bunch of their guys who are going to be on not top of the market deals, put a decent team on the field, and continue to build into the future. So the Matthew Judon thing, I think, is total smoke. Brandon Ayuk is interesting because I do think there's tension there. And then what do you give up? And I don't know that the Lions are interested in giving up that much stuff. We certainly haven't seen them do that quite yet. So I'm a little bit confused as to exactly. I'd rather draft a wide receiver next year and then trade for one this year unless the price is right. So that's the key to it, right? Is like unless the price is right. So Hatters, I'll throw this out to you. What price is right, quote unquote, for Brandon Ayuk? So you have to trade for him and then you have to pay for him. So I'm just going to say you have to give him the same deal you just gave him Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, but then you have two complementary intermediate wide receivers. Like, I believe that Brandon Ayuk this last season, if I can find, I'll just go to PFF. Yep, there it is. Hang on one second. Did they log me out? Nope. Okay, good. Ayuk. There you are, Brandon. Let's take a look at what you did last season. Click. Brandon Ayuk last season had 75 catches for 1,300 yards and 7 touchdowns. So he only dropped the ball twice. He averaged almost 5 yards after the catch. His yards per reception is 17.9. And the dude runs intermediary routes in the middle of the field. Like, that's exactly where Jared Goff wants to throw the ball. I just think he's too expensive. I don't see Brad trading any first. Yeah, and like, we haven't seen that, right? I mean, that's completely reasonable. Is that we have not seen Brad Holm really trade first round picks, at least for current NFL players, and he's moved around in the first round a little bit, but he hasn't just straight up traded away first round picks. Yeah, so I think that it is very unlikely, right? The Lions would have to be convinced that Ayuk wants to resign, that he's a good locker room presence, that he's going to do all the things that they want their players to do, right? So I think that that's tough. And like, the situation that he is in right now in San Francisco, the Lions have not had a player under this regime act the way that Ayuk is acting, right? Penei Sewell didn't act like this. Jared Goff didn't act like this. St. Brown hasn't. Hard to believe that Hutch will when it's time for him to get paid. So is the fact that Brandon Ayuk is navigating the situation in San Francisco the way that he is indicative of the fact that he wouldn't be a good fit in Detroit? I think that on the field, he's almost perfect as a fit. Like, it's hard to imagine a player who is less of a good fit than Brandon Ayuk. Or more of a good fit than Brandon Ayuk into what the Detroit Lions want to do. Let me just go back and check his 6 foot 200. The place I bet he ends up is in Washington. They have Jaden Daniels as their quarterback, and apparently, like, he and Brandon Ayuk are friends from their time at Arizona State together. You got to remember, Jaden Daniels, I think, is like a 6th-year senior, so he was throwing the ball to Ayuk, or was on the team as a freshman when Ayuk was playing college football. So it's pretty crazy. But I do agree with Hatters. I do think that it's very unlikely that the Lions would make a trade going into minicamp, going into training camp, preseason. I mean, if they were going to do it, there's no better time than right now, because you want to give yourself as much time between the trade and week 1 that you possibly could. But Hatters is right. I mean, there's just super unlikely. So Hatters, what's going on with you, man? You up to anything? Got any like comments? Because we're going to talk a little bit more about the Lions. I might have to vamp for a little bit and do a mock draft, because Mike is in Washington for work, because he is lame. So some cool stuff that I saw the Lions do is, by the way, happy birthday, Barry Sanders. I believe the 16th of July. Yeah, you and me both, buddy. I'm happy for anything that leads to like news about football, because man, like these baseball, soccer, WNBA, what else is going on in sport? Tennis, all those stuff, like that just doesn't hold my interest. Like, I need hockey and football and basketball and that kind of stuff. Like, it's just not as good. So, Danny Coates. Oh. Could you see an at the deadline trade for Ayuk if the wide receiver core is performing poorly? Danny, you know I love you, but like, what makes you think that so what would you define, Danny, as the wide receiver core not performing well? Because 60% of it is St. Brown and Laporta. So one of them is hurt. One of them is what? Just not playing well. San Francisco will trade with us. Everybody will trade with each other. Yeah. And it's cool that your girlfriend's best friend's son met Amon-Ra St. Brown here in Cali. Wow. I saw that he was working out with some group. I don't remember where it was a couple of weeks ago. I think San Francisco would trade with us. Just can they get value if there's no hope that they could re-sign them? I think that they would. So I think so. Danny, I don't think that you pay someone $30 million if you have any indication that they will perform poorly. So like the performing poorly part, not if we are both in the mix. Well, I mean, like the thing of it is like the Niners, if you go into this Brandon Ayuk situation into the season and he's playing and the trade deadline is coming up, you can either get something from him or not get something for him. And if you go to the end of the season and he's still on the roster, he just walks away. I mean, I guess you could franchise tag him, right? So, and then you have like a T. Higgins situation. And I believe all 9 wide receivers who have had the exclusive rights franchise tag put on them have ended up playing on the tag. So, but you would basically be paying Brandon Ayuk something like $10 million more than you're paying him this season, all guaranteed. So like $24 million, $26 million on the tag. So if you're comfortable with that, then like, which they might be, but you can't just let him go away for nothing. So now there are teams that have more to offer than the Lions when it comes to like draft picks and stuff. So what does Danny say here? Either JMO not playing like a wide receiver 2 and Laporta sophomore slump or something of that sort. So like outside of St. Brown and Laporta, you have the possibility that JMO could emerge as a valuable player, right? Like a worthy number 2. I don't think Sam Laporta is just going to have a sophomore slump. Like the idea that Sam Laporta went 17 games last season and quote unquote no one knew how to deal with him. Come on. I mean, really? I mean, I could understand that over something like maybe a 6-game stretch or an 8-game stretch or whatever, but like there appeared to be a heavy workload for Laporta out of the gate. So I would think that half the season, more than half the season, most teams knew, oh, by the way, Sam Laporta is going to be a focal point of that offense. So, I mean, like, unless they ask Sam Laporta to do something that he has just either not picked up or is just bad at, in addition to what he did last year, I don't see how he can have a sophomore slump. So I just don't see it. Like I suppose it could happen, but I just don't see how. I think the more likely of those two things is that JMO not playing like a number 2 wide receiver. So if he gets out of the gate and he has some drops and like that leads to him not getting the same kind of target share, and then he's constantly fighting an uphill battle the rest of the way, like, okay, I think a discussion could be had, but then I think that you're looking to trade for somebody like T. Higgins, like Brandon Ayuk in season. Hey, Zakwa. And I just don't remember. I just don't remember the last time that happened. I would think that you would have to go the whole season and then make some kind of trade in the off season. So, but I think like the Lions players that you've seen so far is that some of them have come in and played real well in their first season, and then like the ones that didn't, this is what you hear, like they got their body right, they were in camp basically never left camp all season, and they're just dialed in, right? Because that's the example, that's the kind of guys that Brad Holmes wants to bring in. So when you are constantly working and putting in effort, I just believe it's difficult to get worse unless something like an injury were to happen to you. I don't know that teams are going to be able to completely. If teams could completely scheme players out of the game, Amon-Ra St. Brown would not be able to get 100 catches and 1,000 yards receiving, the last 2 seasons. And like he was really close with less games played his first season. So, I mean, he's just been excellent the entire time. And so, I don't know. I just don't see underperforming. The only thing, the underperforming that I could see would be from Goff. Like if for some reason Jared Goff took a step back or something, or teams decided to start playing Goff in a different way. But even then, I don't think that that's likely, because Goff has shown over his time in Detroit that he's just continued to get better at what they're doing. So let me look at Jared here. View career. So by PFF grade, which I know not everybody loves, like Jared Goff went from a 60 grade in 2021 to 72 to 84. Like he has made 2 12-point jumps from his first season in Detroit. Like there's just no evidence that Jared Goff is going to not play well. So, and like there's just no evidence that Amon-Ra St. Brown is not going to play well. And there's just no evidence so far that Sam Laporta is not going to play well. And like I just want to see J-Mo on the field for the whole year. And this is year 3. This will be the first time that he's, let's hope he doesn't get hurt or anything, but like this will be the first time that he's out there week 1. And I think that's hurt him, to be honest. Like I think that's hurt him, not being out there on the field and not being able to build the continued chemistry with Goff and have Ben Johnson comfortable with what he's going to bring, how he is going to add to this offense. And like I think that one of the things that they really want to do with him is they want to I'll talk about that in a second, dude. I think one of the things that like Ben Johnson wants to do is they want to use J-Mo on like fly sweeps to get the ball in his hands and speed. Like the play that he scored in the playoffs against San Francisco where he like loops into the end zone, he did the same play, I believe, this year against New Orleans. It's like exactly the same play. And like I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they wanted him to do that once a game, once every other game, something like that, and like just get the ball in his hands where he can be fast. Did I get college football? I have not gotten college football yet. It'll probably be a while, Zaquad. Like, I have some things going on personally that like doesn't give me the time to really sit and play. And to be honest, like I was such a big fan of NCAA 14 before it went away that when I heard that EA was not going to make the game anymore, I went out and bought 2 more copies and I wore both copies out to the point where they wouldn't play anymore. So I'm coming at it and like I don't play Madden because I just don't like the way the game functions, and they really haven't done anything with it over the last 5 years. So Plus, Michigan won the national title, and so that'll be fun because you can start every game. I hope that. I do hope that it's different than that. I always felt that the two games were different, but I can't throw on either one of them. I cannot pass the ball in either one of them. Just horrific as a quarterback. Like I subscribe to that. Like, run the ball, play good defense, don't turn the balls over, like win 17-14 kind of a thing. So like I will eventually get it because it'll be something that I can hold in my hands and keep and show, if I'm ever having like just a shitty day or something, like I can turn it on and it's like, oh, the defending champion Michigan Wolverines. Like that'll happen every time I turn the game on forever. So I will probably pay the $65 or $85 or whatever it is just to have it. But haven't done it yet. Who are you playing with? You doing? So I always do Dynasty. On the NCAA stuff, and like I've done dynasties with Michigan, obviously. Penn State was another one that I really enjoyed building a dynasty with. USC was always fun. Brian Morski, don't remember seeing you before, Brian. Welcome. College games are more flexible and have longer replay. I miss it, but barely have the time for some Madden franchises these days. Yeah, right. Like that's just it. Like between work and I do this, and plus I have another podcast, and I have some other hobbies. I think probably in the same theme that Brian mentioned is that like it's tough sometimes to find 45 minutes to an hour to play through it. And like I'm the guy that wouldn't play the games. Like I would usually, there were some times where I would just sim through the whole season just to get back to the recruiting, because that was the part that I loved. I just absolutely love the roster building, recruiting side of that game, especially the way it was back in 2014. So I would always start a dynasty, and I would make myself as the coach, and I would set my coach score to like 1 or 0 or whatever it was. And then you would have to play through the tree by winning points and doing like achievements and that kind of thing. And eventually, like, you got to be good at recruiting, and then you could start to like snowball your way into like having like bigger and better rosters. And I thought that was fun. And so, but I was never very any good at passing the ball. And like, you have to do that at some point. So I always would run like the same 3 or 4 plays that I knew I could effectively or not just be bad at it. One of them was always like a tight end running right down the seam. One is a running back leaking out of the backfield. One is just a 9 route to an absolute burner, and the others are just crossing routes. Yeah, I wish I knew more. I'm trying to get Mike. Let me ask you guys if this is something you would like to see. Danny, if you're still on, I want you to help with this. One thing that I would like to do using Madden is to do like Mike and I start our own teams, and we have to like roster build from the current pool of NFL players. And then we could do something like sim a college season so that we had all the college players and their numbers and their stats, and you bring in the college players, but like it's our thing, and have it be like I don't know, what is that thing in the MCU? The multiverse. Like it's like the multiverse of like what could have happened if, like, so like here's an example. Like if we had been doing this back 2 years ago, I would have taken Jalen Carter at 6, So Jalen Carter, yeah, kind of like a merge game. So like what I really want to do, and I want Danny Coates to run this because that's Mike's kid. I want to run NCAA, the new one that came out, and Madden in the same year. And then I want to, you can sim through it or whatever, but like I want us to run the Lions or our own teams. You port over the incoming NCAA draft class. we go through, we do free agency, we do the draft, and then we see what that Lions team looks like. You know, and we could like do like little clips and put them up and that kind of stuff. And like, you know, we do the actual draft where we sit there and watch it. And, you know, we could do, you know, the other, like the fake draft. And like, it would be like the perfect kind of thing to do right now because there's nothing going on in the NFL, you know? And I'm trying to convince Mike. So if you guys wanted to see something like that, I mean, I would totally be down, but if you guys don't want it, then, you know, we won't do it. So I just think it sounds interesting. For that, you're either going to have to wait for NCAA to come out on PC or convince my dad to upgrade the Xbox. Well, we can do it at my house, Danny. When does training camp officially start? I looked it up. I think it starts. I think that veterans have to report on the 27th of July, Zakwa. So that's 11 days from now. Oh, just so that you guys know, my birthday is this coming Monday. I'll be 42. That's always fun. So happy birthday, me. And we are up to 115 subscribers. So we got 7 subscribers out of nowhere, you know, like that's pretty cool. Mike has a way of looking up who the new subscribers are. I have no idea how to do that. Let me see if I can figure it out. We can call a couple out by name if we can figure it out here. So yeah, that's just going to be me looking around not being able to figure it out. So never mind. But like, we will call them out by name if and when we can figure it out. So yeah, camp starts in about 10 days. Then we'll go into the preseason, and well, the preseason is it either in, I know what part of it is in September. So let's look that up here. NFL preseason schedule. Oh, I lied. The first preseason game, is this for this year? 2024 NFL preseason. August 8th. So we're only 2-3 weeks away from the actual preseason starting. Good. So well, Danny, your dad just sent you to Europe for 6 weeks. He won't upgrade the Xbox. I mean, like, what are we talking about here? I mean, what are we really talking about here? I mean, this is why I don't understand your dad at all. So unless anybody's got any other topics of discussion, I might just do a little mock draft. Hey, what's going on? What are you laughing at, Zakwa? What's the funny face for? So I might just do a mock draft. So if you guys are cool, Brian, if you're still listening, like chime in. Brian Morsky. I wonder where we get these people. I'd love to get some more information on our chat. It's really good stuff. So, all right, let me hop over to PFF here. Mock draft simulator. 3 rounds. That. Bump that up. Choose Detroit. Enter draft. Make this bigger. I'm always yelling at Mike to make it bigger, and then I rarely ever do it. Making dinner. Well, I mean, thoughts on Colin Cowherd leaving Dan Campbell outside his top 10 ranking? It's interesting. Let me Google that really quickly. Colin Cowherd coaches Top 10 ranking. Well, I'm going to try and click on one of these links and get the entire list here. Get away. Well, that wasn't it. Fox Sports' Colin Cowherd believed that the AFC has the edge over the NFC in terms of better coaching and quarterback play at the end of the 23 season, with the Los Angeles Chargers hiring of Jim Harbaugh. Colin ranked his top 10 head coach quarterback duos, of which Detroit came in 10th. What are you making for dinner, Brian? Don't want to get too personal, but like, I am also a fan of dinner. Sports Illustrated. Let's see if they've got the whole list here. Here it is. So, Zakwa, was this just a head coach's top 10, or is this pairing the head coach and the quarterback together? Burgers? Well, you had me at burgers. Because if I can understand, I think I could understand Dan Campbell maybe not being, I don't know, that's tough because he's going into year 4 of being a head coach full time. I think DC is still getting ducked a bit because so much credit goes to Ben. Well, that is true. Ben does get his share of the credit. Well, let's just kind of take a look at what these other coaches here. So he has Andy Reid, Sean McVay, John Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh. Let's talk about that in a second. McDermott, Sean McDermott, Taylor, and Burrow. So I might disagree a little bit about Cincinnati's head coach. LaFleur, okay, okay. I think he's a better. McCarthy and Dak, I disagree about that. McCarthy is coaching for his job this year. McDaniel and Tua, Campbell and Goff. So Jim Harbaugh was a coach a decade ago in the NFL, just coaches. I can't find that list, dude. So if you, Zakwa, if you know what that list is, or can you link me that list, and I'll take a look at it. But otherwise, I just have this head coach quarterback pairing thing I'm going off of. Is Ben going to move on, Brian? This is 2 times now that I thought that he would have been out the door for some head coaching opportunity. And like, to be honest, like the one in Washington seemed like, if you want a better situation, I don't really know what you could have hoped for. Like, you had the number 2 pick, like they were going to make you one of the highest paid coaches it's up on his YouTube channel. All right, give me a second, guys. I'm going hunting for Colin Cowherd YouTube channel. The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Let's see. Can we get the coaches thing? Top 10 QB list. All right, let's see. Herd podcasts. Okay, I'm not seeing, it's not jumping right out at me here. Okay. So anyways, if he kept Dan Campbell outside of his top 10, like Zakwa said, which I have no reason to not believe Zakwa, the Herd channel, okay. I think that that's probably inaccurate. However, this is what I will say about anybody like Colin Cowherd. is that's one dude's opinion, and that dude is more incentivized. That dude is more incentivized to create drama by taking somebody that he probably knows is a top 10 coach in the NFL and putting him at 11 so that the fan base gets all riled up and post shit comments on its YouTube channel, and like interacts with them on Twitter and stuff like that. Like that seems to be like there's no good news but bad news. Like there's a lot of people, especially in sports media now, that seem to be incentivized to just be like, everything sucks, your people suck, come at me, and people do because they're upset. And that's just a normal thing for people who are upset to do. And every time, and they don't care that, like, when you click on a YouTube channel or whatever, YouTube doesn't care if you're mad or not, And like, I get the feeling that Colin Cowherd is more interested in creating drama than he is about like journalistic integrity and saying what he actually thinks and feels. And he's successful and has been successful in this industry for a really long time. So I think that he understands the game of how he is successful and does that pretty well. And like, I have a hard time believing that stuff like this is not manicured. So the point of me saying that is I just don't give a shit what Colin Cowherd says about Dan Campbell. Like it doesn't, Colin Cowherd's opinion is not going to change any Detroit Lions fans' opinion of Dan Campbell. It's not going to change whether or not Sheila wants to extend him. It's not going to change how the players think about him. It's not going to change how he coaches. So like Colin Cowherd's opinion of Dan Campbell is meaningless to me, and I think in any real way is meaningless. It's just fun to talk about right now. I have to like check myself here a little bit because I have a YouTube channel that I talk about stuff that goes on in the NFL. So the difference is like I've never been interested in shit talking or creating drama for the sake of like trying to drive engagement with you guys. Like I would rather sit and talk about like Brian cooking burgers for dinner or what Zakwa, is up to, or Hatter's best friend's girlfriend's son's cousin getting to meet, Amon-Ra St. Brown at some workout or camp. Like I just don't care about the drama of it, and I actively try and avoid it. So does Mike. So Mike, I can hear Mike screaming at me right now from DC because he doesn't want me to alienate anybody, including like fans of Colin Cowherd, and I just don't care. Brian says Colin has gotten very good at being almost as bad as Skip. Oh my God, but not quite. Remember how he treated Dan the first 2 years? It was a good position to be in if you are making content. See, bullseye. We can talk about how we already have our wide receiver 3 on the roster a few times over. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a bad thing, but like, it's also not, I don't think, a good thing either, So at the top of the show, I don't know that anybody was listening at that point, but Antoine Green is getting the majority of first team reps with their on-field work that they've been doing. So I would put him right now as like the day one starter. If he can maintain that through the preseason, like good for him. But like a 7th round pick rounding out your wide receiver core is not what I would hope for. Now, if he's this rags to riches story and he turns out to be like really productive and a chain mover and like a solid player and he doesn't mess up his assignments, then okay, like I don't have a problem with the fact that you were a 7th rounder. But I think the fact that he was a 7th rounder denotes like the amount of confidence that they have in him. Because if they have shown, we have a lot of confidence in you, we really want you on this team, like they will take guys higher. They took they took the nose tackle out of He didn't play last year. They were getting him right. Why can I not think of this guy's name? God, this drives me so crazy. Hang on, I'll go back to over the cap. What is the kid's name? The big nose tackle, second year, went to a college. They traded up in the third round. Broderick Martin. My God, Drew. My God, dude. Western Kentucky. I'm so bad. I'm so sorry, guys. Yeah, that's him, Broderick. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, Brian. Like, there is a difference between wide receiver 3 and a backup wide receiver 1 and 2. Like, so what is the difference between, say, Antoine Green and Khalif Raymond? You know, one is a Pro Bowl caliber return man with amazing speed, and the problem is that he's like 5'8". But that hasn't stopped Detroit from getting the ball in his hands, But like, I think that he is more of a backup Jameson Williams than he is a reliable starter. Okay, so I think Green is a backup outside, and Khalif and DPJ are more likely to start. Well, I mean, DPJ started last year and they traded for him, and like, they very easily could be like just giving Green first team reps to see if he can challenge DPJ, and like, Peoples Jones is like the incumbent or whatever, and so if it's like, okay, we have to play a game tomorrow, like, trot out Donovan. But I'm betting that this is a race and this is like a legit position battle, because if Antoine Green can't push a guy like Donovan Peoples Jones to start with this opportunity, like, he's never going to. Right, anyone could win the job. Yeah, I think that's right. So I do, like, Brian, I'm not sure how long you've been listening to the show, but like, I think it was last week when Mike was actually here that we were talking about positions in this upcoming off season that the team could aggressively target. And I think that this is the number one position that they could aggressively target, because there does seem to be like a lot of like DPJs on a 1-year contract. Antoine Green is a 7th round draft pick. Khalif Raymond is a sustainable backup, and like, none of those guys are the guys that you want to be the starters, which is why the Lions have been tied to Ayuk and tied to T. Higgins and tied to these other X wide receivers that may or may not actually be available. Because they're perceived to have a hole in the roster. The guy that I want to get the job is Torrey Horton from Colorado State. I love watching Torrey Horton play football. He is #fun to watch. So who do you think will have the second most sacks this year? So I'm assuming that you mean on the Lions and not in the NFL, right? So Hutch has had 11 sacks each of his first 2 seasons. Trading for a stud makes no sense. It'll hurt him on it. I don't agree with that. I think that the draft pick is the most likely, but I don't think that drafting Ayuk hurts Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta, or T. Higgins or whomever it is. And the reason that I say that, not because I think that you're wrong necessarily, Brian, but because Sam Laporta and Amon-Ra St. Brown are going to draw some of the best defenders that they see, right? If you put T. Higgins, you put Brandon Ayuk or somebody like them on the roster in the X wide receiver spot, now somebody, one of the 3, gets the worst of the 3 defenders, and that's the guy that you target. So the reason I think it doesn't hurt St. Brown and Laporta is that it's going to give one of those 2 guys a lesser defensive player that has to play them. And then the Lions just throw the ball to whichever guy has the best matchup. Is my opinion. But to your point, I also think that Brad Holmes will probably do what he has done every year in the draft, or almost every year, which is to be like, I'm going to throw this draft pick at it, and I'm going to throw that draft pick at it. You know, and maybe he trades a second round pick for like a Jerry Jeudy type wide receiver, and then goes and drafts a developmental first or second round wide receiver that you can bring along, like they're trying to do with Green, but has more talent, higher upside, something like that. I think that sounds more like Brad Holmes as I've come to know him than say like anything that I have hypothesized here today on the show. Who do I think will have the second most sacks on the team? Okay, so this is a really interesting question, Zakwa, to me, because Hutch, I think, is going to have 11 plus. Let's just call that. And then you have like 4 deep. I think you have 4 deep on the guys that can play across from Hutchinson. And those 4 deep, in my opinion, are James Houston, Marcus Davenport, Josh Paschal, and Matthew Betts. So I believe Davenport is going to get the start at edge for the Lions, and that you are going to have looks that put him and Houston on that side of the field, probably a lot. Houston had 8 sacks in 8 games, and then has been hurt the rest of his career, basically. So Brian, I'll throw this to you. Like, who do you think they would trade for as far as a pass rusher? So I think Houston has the ability, given the same number of games, to have more sacks than any other guy, maybe even than Hutch, to be honest. I mean, like, he was on pace he was averaging a sack a game over half of a season. So I mean, like, that rate is as good as any other pass rusher in the NFL. So I mean, that's elite. So, but he's only done it half a season. So if he stays healthy, you give him the opportunity, you let him rush you give him 500 snaps, 600 snaps on defense. You could get to something like, I don't think it would be crazy if he got double-digit sacks. So my guess would be James Houston. That's a pretty big if. Like, to be honest, if somebody, like, what I am hoping for this year is that you get something like 15 or 20 sacks out of the 4 guys that I named combined. Like, Davenport has 6, Houston has 8, Betts has 3, Paschal has 3, something like that. If you can get some production on that level from that side of the field, and Hutch does somewhere between 11 and 15 sacks, like, that's a significant increase in the defensive pressure that this unit is bringing to the field each and every week, like, significantly, because there has been 0 pressure from the other side of the field outside of that 8-game stretch with Houston. So I would say James Houston. Fingers crossed. The guy is, hey, what's up, Jeremy? How you doing, man? How's everything over at your show? We're getting close to our hour limit here, folks. I mean, I can do a mock if you guys want me to. I'm glad that you're doing so good. That's great. Did I hear, Jeremy, that you got hooked up with Chat Sports? Or was that crazy? Am I talking craziness? I thought you just got signed to a bigger, like, an actual media company. Am I way off base? Where did I hear that? What am I thinking about here? So, anyways, if anybody's got anything else that they want to talk about tonight, throw it in the chat real quick. and we'll consider it. Mike said that he would join and then has not posted anything. I don't think a trade is likely in anything. I think that's probably true. Maybe you're closer to the start. I know Chat Sports, but I am Huddle Sports Networks on. Oh, okay. When you say Chat Sports, do you mean Mike? That's his name, right? Micro Mike. Huddle Sports Network. I haven't heard of Huddle Sports Network. I'll have to check them out. He's stuck in an airport currently. This is so like Mike. This is so much like Mike. This is my day communicating with Mike. I get out my phone and I text Mike at like noon. And I'm like, hey man, how do you want? Oh, Kimber. Got told Lee Corso style. Like, what is that? Like he had to wear a huge mascot on his head. I don't know what that means. It's probably not good if it's a style. This was my day with Mike. My day with Mike was like this. Hey, Mike, how are you? What are we going to do for the show tonight? And I was like, hey, can you join? And he was like, I don't know. I'll probably be waiting for my flight in DC so I can jump on and be in the chat. Nothing happens. Nothing. No help whatsoever. 4 out of 5 weeks now. I have to carry the show by myself, just me and chat. Lynch told Schefter the 49ers have no interest in trading. Okay. Why would they? I mean, like, that's just the thing. Like, the dude is great. He's really good for them. I mean, if I was them, I wouldn't have any interest in trading him. So do you know if they have any interest in paying him $30 million plus a year? Because Debo's making something like that, right? Let's go back to teams and San Francisco. So Debo's making 28.6 this year. IU's making 14. Next year, Debo makes 24. Yeah. So, I mean, like, the 49ers have no interest in trading him. They say they want to work out a long-term deal. So, if they want to work out a long-term deal, he's not going to take 25 a year. He's not going to take 25 a year. Not when 3 wide receivers just got between 30 and 35, and I'm sure that he thinks he's better than St. Brown. And Mike's probably yelling at me right now. Hang on, everybody. Yeah, this is 100%. Mike must be listening because now I'm finally getting feedback from my co-host. Been sitting in the plane on the tarmac for 2 hours. And he's going to miss his flight from Detroit to Kalamazoo. So, Danny, do you have to go over to Detroit or does Steven have to go? Yeah, that's hilarious. That's funny. I'll bet it's Steven, that poor son of a bitch. So, I mean, like, if they want to work out a long-term deal, like, do you want to have 2? I mean, like, that's just it. Like, I can understand having one $30 million a year pass catcher. Oh, you're going to go? Oh, that sucks, bro. Dude, you should be like, hey, Dad, when I come and pick you up, let's talk on the way back about upgrading the Xbox since I did you this huge favor. You know? Because that's your leverage. Your dad's yelling at me. Sorry, Mike. You don't show up, you don't get to defend yourself. I would rather sit on the jet than on the tarmac. Just saying. Oh my God. I don't like either option, to be honest. Like, but this is the thing. Like, he's texting me from DC being like, this conference is so much fun. Oh my God, I'm learning all these cool things. All these people are amazing. Hooray. And then I was like, so you're going to be back for the show, right? The show that we've been doing for like 2 years. And so then he was like, I don't know, maybe, hopefully I can like jump in the comments while waiting for my plane in DC. Nothing. So then, but apparently he can, because he's still texting me right now. Mike, you have to upgrade the Xbox so that we can do stuff for the show. Okay? You just went to Paris. You just went to DC. Like, this is not a huge thing. Just shell out some dollars, dude. Your kid's going to be driving 4 hours round trip to come get you. I mean, like, I know, like, he's your kid, but like, you just got to do it. Stop texting me, dude. Jump into the chat. Yo, I hear you, Jeremy. Like, it's just like, this is why I hate traveling. Like, if I want to travel, I'd almost rather drive. But like I could probably drive from like here to St. Louis and be okay. But like anything beyond that. Yeah, thank you, Jeremy. See, Mike, I don't know if you can see this. Jeremy says, Mike, just do it. Yeah, just do it. We're all fans of Nike here. Let's jump on board. So, but you know, if you're going to go to Florida, if you're going to go to California, if you're going to go to Texas, something like that, like, yeah, like flying just makes a lot more sense. But then like you have to take Boeing? Like, oh my God. Like, that just seems awful. You know, and I mean, the airlines are never getting any better. Like, that's the thing I don't understand. They're just never getting any better. So, I mean, like, it just doesn't seem great. Brian's like, I always rather drive. Oh, but I'm a Youper. So it's all connecting flights anyway. Well, that makes sense. Are you currently in the UP, Brian? I drive from Florida to Flint in 19 hours. That is an ordeal. Mike won't let me flip you off. Andrea, bro, why would you do that? Why would you even want to do that, man? Why are you there? Bruh. See, you get it. Andrea and I are real close, everybody. She doesn't mean anything what she's saying right now. Laugh at you. Escanaba area born. Oh, is that where Jeff Daniels has his theater, Brian? Because I've been to that. Or is it just the play that he wrote called Moonlight in Escanaba? Because Jeff Daniels has a theater somewhere in the state. And it's like this little, when I was there, which was when I was a senior in high school, so it's a minute, is outside Ann Arbor. Okay. Live from the tarmac. So now we have the entire Coates family that I am laughing at because it sucks to be stuck on a plane and have the plane not go anywhere. I hate it. And so it is funny. But Andrea has never been anything other than wonderful to me. So I know that she is one of two things. She's either just playing around, which is what I'm going to put my money on, or she's really, really tired and or hungry, of which easily could be a thing too. Now, why she would want to go with Mike Coates, of all people, to Washington, D.C. for his work conference is Danny had to go because he has to drive to Detroit to pick us up. Yeah. You know, and like, what a great kid. You know what would be a great way to show your appreciation for his ability, for him doing that, is to upgrade his Xbox. So, Mike, are you on a Boeing by any chance? I hope not, because they've had not a great record as of late. They can't even get the computers going for the movies and entertainment. Free room and board. Where? On the plane? Yeah. Mike, everybody agrees that you should do the thing for Danny. Everyone thinks that. Jeremy thinks it. Brian thinks it. Zakwa thinks it. Hatters thinks it. Danny thinks it. Me. 6 versus 2. Now, none of the 6 have to give up any money. So that's a real defining characteristic. Come on, Andrea. What are you doing? Come on, man. Bruh. So, Mike, the whole situation with the plane does not seem promising. It seems like you're going to have to get off the plane at some point here in the near future and get on a different, less warm plane. Brian chimes in. People who agree with me are right a lot of the time, statistically speaking. There you go. That's awesome. Will Ubers take you that far, Jeremy? I mean, we live on the other side of the state. Like, you have to drive due west from Detroit to get to Kalamazoo. I'd like to start a GoFundMe. Danny's it's a good idea. It's a real good idea. I've never heard of an Uber. I mean, I've heard of an Uber going like in a city. Oh, then use Lyft. They go you go border border. No, Mike, that's not happening. We're just about done. So, any other Lions questions for the night? Otherwise, I'm going to skedaddle. I've got the Acolyte coming up here in about 45 minutes. And I also am choosing to follow in Brian Morski's footsteps and cook dinner. Then I'm going to sit down and do that. Wow, that's amazing. Lyft will go border to border. That's insane. That's legit insane. Jeremy, let me ask you this before you go. I just joined the stream. Can you recap? I can. Let me just go over the last 70 minutes of content for you, buddy. Who for you has the odd man out in the DE room? So how deep are we going? So I have the quote unquote edge rushers who are going to make the team as Hutch, Davenport. Do you consider Houston to be an edge rusher or a Sam linebacker? Because I would put Houston as an edge rusher. So I would say Houston, Betts, Pascal. So of all those guys, I think they have the least financially committed to Betts. But like they made a big point of like getting him. And I don't think that I'm struggling. Jeremy, you follow the Lions very closely. Probably, I'm sure more closely than I do. But like, can you recall them signing a guy in the offseason and then that guy not making the roster? I mean, like, I feel like the MO for this team is like, for example, Emmanuel Mosley. Like, I think Emmanuel Mosley makes the team and he's hurt. You know, they'll just designate him to return from injury. Oh my goodness. So he probably missed 8 games. Yeah, I think that I love the idea of Matthew Betts. I really like him I really like him, but I just don't know where the room is going to be for him. Well, don't you think that Kaminsky is more of an interior guy for them? Like, don't you think like he's like the backup? I mean, I know that they kind of play these guys all over the place. Shut up, Mike. What a jerk. And I was so good to you tonight. You know, I mean, Jeremy, I don't think that Kaminsky's on the team next year. I mean, I think his contract is up at the end of the season. And, you know, you bring in like Martin. It seems like they're filling out their defensive tackle depth chart. And like, you know, Davenport's up. Pascal's still on a rookie deal. You're just seeing what you got in Betts. You're seeing what you got in Houston. It isn't Comiskey like 31. Let me just look him up here real quick. Kaminsky. He is 29. This is his last year under contract. 6'5", 286. Can you explain what a down is? A down is any eligible play that you're allowed to run as an offense. Or it's just, I guess it's just a football play. He did restructure to stay here. So do you think that that means that he's more than likely to get another deal, or that like he had to take a pay cut in order to stay on the roster this year? Because I feel like it's the latter. Mike, did you feed her, or is this? I mean, is she hungry and like poking at me because I was being sassy, or is this just Andrea's humor? Because she won't watch the draft with us, so I want her to watch the draft with us one year. He had to take a pay cut to be here. So, I mean, like, they're going to draft guys. They're going to, I mean, I could see him maybe getting one more year just to battle. Oh, it's just Andrew's humor. Well, it is excellent. I appreciate it. She's actually adding quite a bit to the stream. Mike, did you know that we're up to 115 subscribers? You've been working your magic down there in DC? I mean, I think the odd guy out, Jeremy, is probably Betts, but like I do think the spots are filling up pretty quickly. And like the spots of people that are going to be here multiple years guaranteed, not just like I'm here to prove it, or like this team was bad and I found a home. So what are the flag things for? Well, those indicate penalties. So whenever a team breaks the rules and it's observed by the officials, they throw those sweet ass yellow flags, indicate that there's a problem. These are excellent questions. What's wrong with Houston right now? Betts won't make the practice squad. I'll take the bet. I'll take the bet. I think he's on the 53. Mike and I usually do like a steak dinner bet, and Mike, you and I got to work off a time for me to pay the steak dinner bet off. But like, or maybe I can just get you the next time that we go to Buddies or whatever. But like, the ankle is still a problem. Isn't that like 10 months? Brian, okay, how about this, Brian? If Betts makes the 53, you send me your burger recipe. And if he doesn't make the 53, we have you on the show. How about that? How's that for a bet? Jesus Christ, Jeremy, 10 months for an ankle is like, what did he do? Did it get shot into like 1,000 pieces and they had to Humpty Dumpty it back together again, or what? Because that's insane. Was it a ligament on the ankle? Oh, I mean, okay, I see what you're saying. Really? So you think that Betts is an actual threat to Davenport? That's who I have penciled in as the starter. Or do you think that like Betts is the Well, Andrew, you were asking about flags, dude. I mean, like, have me out either way. I'm good on a mic. All right, you made your case. We'll see what we can do for you. Oh, it was a high ankle sprain. Broke it on special teams. That sucks. Because I know in the NBA, high ankle sprains are a real fucking problem. They just last and last and last. Well, that was a while ago, Andrea. It wasn't the last two. I'm just saying, man, we need you. We need your presence here more. We need more of Andrea Coates. The whole clan. We need the whole clan. We even got a stand-in Coates just because, and Danny's on the thing now. Well, Betts is way bigger than Houston, isn't he? And also a hotter commodity. Well, there you go. I mean, if you can ever just trade on the commodity side of things, right? Boy, that sounded terrible. I don't know where that came from. Let me look these guys up here real quick. Where is everybody? I hate these 90-man rosters. Hey, Jeremy, who do you have winning the kicking battle? Where the hell are these guys? James Houston, 26, 6 foot, 245. Matthew Betts, stand on up. Oh, it's literally the last guy. 29, 6 foot 3, 260. So he's more of an edge, I guess, than Houston. You have Bates winning it. Okay. Trade bait then for Betts. Mike, you gotta stop. You're just embarrassing yourself. Yeah, Brian. Get your thumbs under control, dude. Betts was, and I quote, Risden, elite men just like Houston and better COD skills. Six 3, 255. Yeah, all right. Well, I don't think he's going to be in the trenches, Brian. I think you're going to line him up at in a 2-point stance way out past the tackle. And then he's going to get almost a running start and dip under that dude's hip. And I guess the Vikings and the Packers have legit right tackles, but the Bears don't. And I'm just wondering if he's going to tee off on somebody. Yeah. So, Jeremy, Sam linebacker seems to be a thing that the Lions have tried to force a square peg into a round hole here for the last couple of years. Can you see them going into the draft and going after a quote unquote pure Sam linebacker at some point? There was what was the kid from Alabama? I think he ended up going to Tampa Bay in this class. Let me just bring up the draft. I'll get the kid's name. I think he was a second round pick. Doodly 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 doo. Bama, bama, bama. Bama, bama, bama. Chris Braswell. I thought that he was more of a Sam. I think Houston plays a Sam in that wide 9 technique. I think they have to. Oh, okay. So, I think positions this offseason that they can target would be X wide receiver, Sam linebacker. And then I think you start getting into the weeds a little bit. We keep forcing Barnes to middle when he is a natural Sam in college. Well, I mean, I think that Houston is probably somebody that you give 400 or 500 snaps to over the course of the year, and he's kind of like a package player. But I mean, maybe that's stupid to say that a package player can get 400 to 500 snaps. But I mean, if he is an effective pass rusher, you just have to put him on the field. I don't care. Jeremy, it does seem like their linebacking core is playing all out of position. You've got Anzalone, who's a Will, playing Mike. You've got Campbell, who's a Mike, playing Will. You've got Barnes, who's playing Mike when he's a Sam. And it just seems like that all of their guys are just one spot to the left when it comes to where they should be playing. Why is it that way? Why isn't the linebacking core Campbell, Anzalone, Barnes, all in their quote unquote preferred spots. I mean, I just don't get it. Is it just because Anzalone knows what what the offense is doing and can call the play? Because if you can do that, why can't you have somebody like Kirby Joseph or Brian Branch get the dot and call the play and make the changes and then line the fucking linebackers up in the right spots? Yeah, right. Exactly, Brian. But that's not where they play. I mean, it feels like every linebacker is playing out of position. It just drives me fucking crazy. Because, like, I want to like Campbell. I mean, even though I did disagree with where they took him, like, I want to like the dude. But, like, he seemed like he was uncomfortable all season. Hangry Andrea signing out, taking my snarkiness with me. I love you so much, girl. Hangriness or nothing. Like, you're always A+ in my book. Looks like Jack is trending towards the Mike this year. So if he's playing Mike, does that mean that he's got the green dot and is calling the plays? Like, I don't understand why you can't have, why the Mike linebacker has to be the guy that calls the plays. Like, why can't a safety or like the will linebacker do it? So why do the rules specify that he has to be the guy to get it? Because I don't know what else it could be. It can't just be like, oh, just cuz. This is a root beer, by the way. So frustrating. So Danny's on his way to Detroit. Hangry Andrea has hung up on me. I'm eagerly waiting for Jeremy's response as to why the Lions continue to play their linebackers in the wrong spots for no apparent reason. To me, having never played football. No, but Campbell said, or maybe that's Aaron Glenn, said Jack is taking a more of a vocal leadership role in the defense this year. Okay, great. I mean, I'm sure there are times, because AG isn't. Come on, dude. Like, are we one of those? I mean, you've seen I know that you have seen like what this defense has been since he has been here. Hey, Dr. Detroit, what's going on, man? You're catching us right at the end. But like, they obviously did not put as much work into fixing the defense initially as they did fixing the offense. That's fine. That's the modern NFL. No problem with that. But like, I am also not going to hang it on Aaron Glenn because they just didn't put as much effort into it. Oh, have you been? Okay, cool, Dr. Detroit. That's cool, man. Hope everything's going well for you. Well, I mean, I don't think that there's any. Okay, I was very upset with former Pro Bowl. What DB did you want to make better? What was the kids from Ohio State's name? Okuda and Sutton? I mean, there's not much you can do with Jerry Jacobs. I thought they played out of position last year, but they have been repping more natural spots this year. Well, that's what I want too, Brian. I mean, like, I think that you hit the name on the head. Any of them? All right. Well, okay. So here's my thing, Jeremy. Like, I will agree with you if Carlton Davis, Ennis Rakestraw, and Terrion Arnold don't work out. So I'm going to give it this year or next year. And if the secondary is still awful, I'll give it to you, because I don't think with Arnold, Rakestraw, Branch, and Kirby Joseph, like, if you invested that and throw Melifonwu and, who's the other guy that I'm not saying? I feel like there's one of them. AO was a top 10 CB. Amani Araraway. All right. I'm not. The Amani Araraway hill is so small that I don't even want to fight for it. So you win that argument. I wish him a good career with the Giants. Maybe he can be fixed. Mike, you're going to be on the tarmac, dude. Like, you're going to be on the tarmac. You're just going to be on the tarmac. You live there now. All right. You live there until they move you to a new plane when a new plane opens up. I have no idea when that's going to be, but I'm betting Danny waits for you for an hour in Detroit. So, I mean, Pennsylvania and Ohio are not tiny states. So I think that the secondary is going to be a lot better this year. I feel like the pieces are all there. Mike, if I was riding on a plane and they came over the what is it, the speakers, I nailed it, and we're like, hey guys, the plane's too hot to fly safely, I'd be like, can we get a new plane? Can I go? Can I, I would love a new plane, please. Yeah, all that's, I mean, and maybe mistakes were made, Jeremy. I will concede that, but like neither of those guys are on the team anymore. So sounds like a boring issue. Or maybe you mean Boeing. Yeah. You mean Boeing, don't you? Either way, it's boring. It's both. It's both things. All right, guys, we are at 90 minutes. There it is. He nailed it. From all of us here at Building the Pride, I am Drew. Mike, Andrea are on the tarmac. We've got Danny heading east on I-94 to pick him up. It does suck. I agree. And I just want to say thank you to everybody in the chat tonight. It's going to take me a second here. So, Hatters, Danny, Zaquwa, Brian, Jeremy, Dr. Detroit, Mike, Andrea. Am I forgetting anybody? I hope not. If I did, Dr. Detroit, trying to make sure I got everybody here. I want to give the recognition. So we are, love to be on with you one day. I'm sure we can make that happen, dude. So we will be with you guys next week at 7. Danny will have an upgraded Xbox. Sorry, Mike. Now you're committed. And I appreciate everybody being here. See you again soon. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye.